Hey guys, I'm Rhonda and welcome to a new video. Because we are heading into a new season, which is the winter season, I thought it is about that time for me to do another book tag video. So that is what we're doing today. We are going to do a winter book tag video. In case you don't know what book tag videos are, they are just videos where I have a list of different prompts, usually about 10 or maybe a dozen prompts based off some kind of theme. In this case, it is the winter theme. Last season was fall, so I had like a fall theme. But with those book tags, I then take books and I match up the books to each prompt. They're just a fun way to recommend books, and they're just fun videos to watch. They're fun videos to do. So I'm going to have all of these prompts down in the description box. Feel free to copy and paste them into the comments and let me know which book you would put with each prompt. It's always fun to see what you guys would match up with each prompt. But let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, this is, I need to pull up my notes, but this is my winter book tag. I have 10 prompts, and let's start with the first one, and that is a snowed in setting. A book where the characters are trapped together or isolated, snowstorm vibes encouraged. And the book that I picked for this prompt is No Exit by Taylor Adams. I just read this book last week, really enjoyed it. This one is set in the winter time. This is definitely going to be a snowed in or trapped situation. In this book, we are following Darby, she's a college student, and she is driving from Colorado to her hometown, and she's trying to get home to be with her mother because her mother is sick. And along the way, she's trying to beat the snowstorm or this blizzard that's coming. So she's trying to drive fast just to try to get home as quickly as she can so she doesn't get stuck in the snowstorm. Well, she does. In fact, she seeks refuge at a rest stop. And at that rest stop are 4 other people who are also stranded. And she goes out at one point and is trying to get cell service so that she can call her sister and let her know where she is and just say, hey, I'm not going to make it back by the time I said I would. And when she's walking back to the rest stop, she passes a van, and inside that van, she sees that there is a young girl, a child, in a cage inside that van. So through this whole book, she is not only trying to figure out who put this girl in this van, who kidnapped this kid, but she's also trying to figure out a way to get this girl out and get help and get the police to this rest stop. Also, at the same time, while she's there, there is a snowstorm obviously coming through that's just making getting out of this rest stop impossible. So she is stuck at this rest stop with someone who has kidnapped a child. She doesn't know who it is. This book was so good. It was definitely action-packed. It was fast-paced. I read this book in one sitting. I think it's over 300 pages, but I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. I had so much anxiety, and it also kind of put my mind in a place where I was thinking about, what would I do? Would I make the same decisions she did? And for the most part, for some of her things that she did, yes. Some other things, no, I'd probably handle things differently, but this was very entertaining. It's going to give you that claustrophobic feeling where you don't know who you can trust. So yeah, this was very, very good. It's definitely going to give you that snowed in setting and definitely going to give you those snowstorm vibes. Prompt number 2 reads, Warmest Mug on the Shelf, a book that feels like a comforting cup of hot cocoa. Well, I have actually a little series that fits this to a T, and that is the Molly the Maid series. I have The Maid, I have The Mystery Guest, and then there's also 2 more books. There is a novella that's set around Christmas time that I highly recommend. Don't sleep on that one. It's called The Mistletoe Mystery. And then the 3rd book came out earlier this year called The Maid's Secret. I have not read that one. I'm waiting for it to come out on paperback so that my books match up because I'm a weirdo like that. But these books are so heartwarming and sweet. These are going to be your cozy mysteries, your whodunit type mysteries. And in these books, we're following Molly, and she works as a maid at a 5-star hotel. And in the first book, she is cleaning a room, and she goes into a room and she finds the guest in the bed. And she does not act like, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. She is neurodivergent, and she doesn't handle certain situations as maybe some other neurotypical people would. And so because of that, people think that she has something to do with this guest or something. And so she's trying to work with the detectives and figure out what happened with this guest and also to clear her name. And then in the second book, we're following Molly again, and she has a whole nother mystery to solve. But these books are just, they are heartwarming. You're going to root for Molly because she is such a sweet person. She doesn't see certain situations like people who aren't neurodivergent. She handles certain situations differently. And I was very invested and interested in how she handled problems and how she problem solved. And these books are so well written. They're wholesome, they're heartwarming, they're good. And if you like cozy mysteries or little whodunit mysteries where you're going to be rooting for the main character, then I will definitely recommend this series. But I love these. They are just cozy and comforting, and I will forever recommend them. Prompt number 3 reads Frostbite Fiction, a book that chilled you to the bone. Thriller, horror, or emotional devastation counts. The first book that popped in my mind is Misery by Stephen King. And I've actually read quite a few of his books. The other day, I was kind of thinking about all the books that I read, and I read more than I thought. And for the most part, I've really enjoyed the books I've read. But this one in particular is one of my favorites just because it is a book about an author. So in this book, we are following Paul Sheldon. He is a very famous author, and he gets in a car accident during a snowstorm, and he ends up getting saved by a woman named Annie Wilkes, and she takes him to her just remote house. I think it's in the woods or in the mountains during the snowstorm, and he's kind of stuck there because she is obsessed with him as an author, with the series of books that he's written. She is his #1 fan. So she ends up holding him captive, and she forces him to write a new novel to her liking featuring a character that she personally connected with. So Paul ends up having to write this novel, and he is having to deal with her escalating violence. He is trapped in this home. She is getting more and more dangerous and doing more and more evil things to him. And this book was chilling. I could not put it down. I remember it was very fast paced, and it was a little gory. It wasn't like a spooky story. It was just some of the things that she did to him. It gets to you. It chills you to the bone that someone thinks like that, like Stephen King does. But love this book. I think Misery in the wintertime is going to be the best time to read it too, just because this is set during a winter setting during a snowstorm. And yeah, it is definitely a very chilling book and one of my favorites by Stephen King. Prompt number 4 reads Holiday Chaos, a book featuring family drama or messy relationships. And I decided to go with a holiday book, and it is my favorite holiday romance that I have read so far. I haven't started on any holiday romances this year yet. I'm hoping to get to them in a few days, but the book that I think really captures holiday chaos is The Plight Before Christmas by Kate Stewart. So in this book, we are following Whitney, and she is not in the holiday spirit whatsoever. Her boyfriend has just broken up with her. She also did not get the promotion at work like she was expecting to, and she needs to go to her grandparents' cabin for a week long of just holiday celebration. Her entire family is going to be there, and she's really not in the mood for it. But when she gets there, she finds out that not only is all her family there as she was expecting, but her brother invited someone else. Her brother actually invited a coworker by the name of Eli, and apparently he was going to be alone for the holidays, so her brother invited him to the cabin as well. The only problem is Eli is someone she used to date many years ago. He broke her heart, so Whitney is none too pleased by this, and what ensues is just a book full of banter and fun. This is a second chance holiday romance, and this is one of the funniest books I have read. The antics in this book, the chaos in this book, I mean, it's a house full of many different generations. You have grandkids, you have the grandparents, you have the parents, the kids, the grandkids, and it's full on chaos. And it was just a really good time. There is a little boy in this book named Peyton, and he is the cutest kid I've ever read. Like, he just says sweet little things. Him and Eli form this little friendship, and they do like this little morning routine together. It's so adorable, so cute. I just really wanted to eat him up. But this book as a whole is very chaotic, but in a good way. It's very funny, and it's going to give you that family chaos that you expect during the holidays. So yeah, if you haven't read this one, please, please make sure you put this on your list to read this year. It's so good. Prompt number 5 reads, Blanket Burrito Book. A book you binged in one sitting or wanted to. Well, I have a perfect book for that. I did not binge it in one sitting. It took me a couple of days to read just because it's a little bit longer, but I couldn't put it down. I definitely binge read this one, and I am talking about The Favorites by Lynn Fargo. I'm calling this women's fiction, but it's being marketed, I think, as a sports romance or just a contemporary romance. It's really not that. It's so much more. This is a book about toxic relationships. It's a book about ambition to the point you are ruining your relationships with other people. It's about drive. It's about passion. And it's about toxic relationships more than anything. This book is a soap opera in book form, and it was so good. In this book, we are following Katerina and Heath, and they are very, very famous ice dancers. They do couples ice dancing, and they are world renowned. They've gone to the Olympics, and you're following them as they meet as kids, as they start training together, as they move up in the ice skating world. This book is also told kind of in a documentary format. You're going to have some chapters where it's in an interview format because something happened 10 years ago at the Sochi Olympics involving Katerina and Heath. Something happened to where they no longer skate together. It's something pretty dramatic. And so that documentary is kind of covering what happened at the Olympics, and you're kind of following along throughout the book. So you're going to have some chapters where it's going to start with the interview where it says, so this is what happened, da, 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 da. And then further on in the chapter, you're going to get Katerina's version of what went down. But this book was just phenomenal. Again, it was a book that I binged in a couple of days. I couldn't put it down. Yeah, I loved it, and it is 110% bingeable. Prompt number 6 reads, A Silent Night, a book that was quiet, slow, thoughtful, but memorable. And the only book that I can think of that I read recently that is a quiet book but had an impact on how I perceive some of my past relationships is Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. And this book is about a woman by the name of Adelaide, and she is an American living, I think, in London. And she meets this guy by chance, and she's actually met him before, and she thinks that they are fated to be together. She is very into him, and he says he loves her too, but he doesn't act like a guy who is into you acts. Like, he doesn't always show up when he's supposed to. He doesn't call when he says he's supposed to. Sometimes he doesn't call at all for weeks, and she's just like, what the heck? And she keeps just giving herself more and more to him, and he just takes and takes and takes and doesn't give back. This book, I wish I read this. I said this when I did my wrap up, and I did a little mini review about it, but I wish I read this when I was dating. It would have saved so much heartache and tears, because I feel like the message that the author gave to us is one I hadn't heard before, and it's so obvious. With that advice, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And when I was reading the beginning of the book or in the author's notes, I did read that this is a little bit autobiographical for our author, and I think that made it hit that much more, because I think we can all relate to dating someone who wasn't in the relationship as much as you were. Also, too, this is going to be a book about mental health, and this was so good. And it was definitely a quiet book, because you were following someone who is just like you, who is just going through the motions of this relationship and struggling in life, and it just really hit hard. And again, this was a book that I definitely wish I had, 15 years ago when I was dating, 16 years ago when I was dating. But if you want a book that is relatable, that is character driven, that you can see yourself in, then pick this one up. I don't hear a ton of, I know this is an older book, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about it or recommending it. But this was a very good book. It is lit fic. I don't always love those, but I did love this one, and this is definitely a good, quiet book with great messaging and themes. Prompt number 7 reads, Icicle Sharp Plot Twist, a book with a twist so shocking it took your breath away. Well, I know exactly which book fits that one, and that is Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. I read this last week, and it is taken the throne as my favorite Darcy Coates book. This one is definitely more of a thriller, whereas her other books, I haven't read all of them, so she might have some other books that are thrillers, but the ones I've read are definitely more of your spooky ghost story type horror book. So this one is my first suspenseful thriller that she's written, and I love this so much. I read this in like 24 hours. I just binged it. I could not put it down. It does start slow, but I think once you get through about the 1/3 of the way through, it does pick up and things start happening very, very quickly. It's very fast paced. But in this book, we are following a woman by the name of Krista, and her and her boyfriend are going on this winter tour. I think it's in the Cascade Mountains, but they are going to stay at this lodge in the mountains during the winter time, and they're on a tour bus with like 10 other people, and something happens to where they kind of get stranded, and they end up all finding this cabin kind of in the woods on this mountain. It's very secluded and remote, and they all end up staying there. Well, soon after they get there, people start getting murdered one by one, and it seems as if someone in this group is doing these crimes and is out to hurt everyone in this cabin. And the reason why I picked this as a book that kind of took my breath away with the plot twist is the final plot twist really wasn't that shocking. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. It was the way it happened, the way it was revealed, that absolutely took my breath away. When I read it, I gasped. I was like, and it definitely took my breath away. I had a very interesting reaction to it, not one I normally have in thriller books. And for a book to shock me in that way is pretty telling. But this was an easy 5-star read. It's my favorite Darcy Coates book. And if you're looking for a good snowed in, fast-paced, claustrophobic winter read or winter thriller, then definitely pick this one up. I loved it. This book is wild, but yeah, loved it. Definitely pick this one up if you are interested in Darcy Coates. It's one of her best. Prompt number 8 reads Fresh Snowfall, a book that surprised you in a good way. Okay, another book that I recently read that I immediately thought of is Where He Left Me by Nicole Bart. This one is about a woman and her husband who move into her husband's family cabin that he grew up in. And he goes on this work trip and he never comes home. The female main character in this book is obviously freaking out. She's like, what the heck? And on this first night that he doesn't show up, a storm comes in and she kind of gets stuck at this house. Well, she soon finds out by looking at the cameras outside the home that there are strangers and intruders lurking around her property, and things go, we'll just say things go from there. I really enjoy this book. This was another fast-paced book that I couldn't put down. I wanted to know what was going on, how everything ties together. And the reason why I picked this as a book that surprised me in a good way was the direction this book took. This is a mystery thriller, but it definitely takes a left turn and goes in another direction. And I can't really tell you what that is without spoiling it. And I really enjoyed this. It was so good. I loved the characters. They felt very real to me. I loved the writing. I want to read more from her. She has other books out. So if you're looking for a book that is a thriller, but it's going to surprise you in the direction it goes, then I would say definitely give this one a chance. It was really, really good. Prompt number 9 reads Long Winter Nights, a chunky or slow burn book that took time to get through but was worth it in the end. The only book that I came across is a book that I read last month, and that is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by B.E. Schwab. This is a very chunky book. It's over 500 pages. Yeah, it's like 530 something pages. And this is a fantasy book, and it's about lesbian vampires. But whenever I was about to read this, I was looking up information about it, and I was hearing that it was about toxic lesbian vampires. And I would say, yeah, kind of, but this book goes beyond that. That's just a small part of the story. This is really a book about mortality and humanity than anything. And I love this book. This did take me a very long time. I think I started this in the beginning or at the end of September, and I finally finished it around the end of October. So it took me a long time to get invested in the story and get going. But in this one, you're going to get the POV of a few different women, and you're following them as they are human and they're going through their lives and what's going on in their lives. And then you're following them as they turn into vampires. and then you're following them as they learn to handle their new immortality and what they do with it. And it was just a very interesting character study. Again, yes, these are lesbian vampires, but that's not really the main emphasis on the story. It's really about how these women handle becoming vampires and how they handle holding on to what made them human, if that makes sense. But all in all, I am so glad I finished this book, because once I think I got to the halfway mark, I was picking up more and wanting to read more and more to find out who was who and what was going on, how are these women connected, and it was really good. But the writing was beautiful, just like The Invisible Life by Addie LaRue. The storytelling was very similar, but overall this one was just a very good slow burn book that took my time to get through it, but was definitely worth it in the end. I thought the ending was really good. So yeah, that's Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. Okay, moving on to the very last prompt, and that is Cozy by the Fire Read, a book with warm, domestic, or slow living vibes. So I immediately thought of a book series that I am currently reading, and that is the Emma M. Lyons series. I'm loving these books so much. They are so good. But these books are, I am currently on book number 4. There's currently 8 books out, and I think there's going to be a total of 24 books in this series, but stick with me. Don't write this series off because it's going to be so long. But these books are kind of like novellas. The first book had less than 150 pages. I think the second book had 160, and as these books are going on in the series, I think they get a little bit longer. But in these books, you are following Emma Lyon, and the books are told kind of in a diary format or a journal format, where you are following Emma in her day-to-day life as she's living in Victorian England. You're following just her everyday life. So this is definitely a slice of life, character-driven series, and I am eating these books up. They're like candy. I'm just like, I love them. But Emma she is a treasure. She is a true treasure. I love her. She is a fictional character, but she is clever. She is witty. She is smart. She is funny. She's just a treasure. I love her, and I love reading about what she's doing each day, who she's meeting, what's going on in her life. It's just, they're so interesting. I can't explain it. But all in all, these books are definitely domestic. They're definitely warm, and they're definitely slow living, because there's really not a lot going on in her life other than what's going on in the lives of these women as they live in this time period. Like, you're learning about what is expected of the women during this time, what rights they have or don't have. It's very interesting, and these books are just taking over my life right now, and I love them. If you're looking for just a sweet, cozy slice of life series where nothing's really happening but it's still so interesting, then definitely pick up the Emma M. Lyons books. Love them, and it's going to be just like the Maid series. It's going to be a series that I will be 200 years old and still pushing these books onto people, because they are really good. I love them so much. They are my heart. All right, my friends, that is all I have for you. That is my winter book tag. Like I said earlier, I am going to have all 10 prompts down in the description, so feel free to copy and paste them into the comments and let me know which books you would pick for each one, or feel free to use them on your own channel. If you are a content creator, you are more than welcome to use them. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.